Hello everyone, welcome to the March 11th League of Legends DFS slate breakdown recap of yesterday. Quickly, we do have a pretty interesting 4-gamer. There's a lot of spots I wanted to talk about, so I'm probably going to be ranting a little bit long today. If I remember, I probably won't. I'll try to leave a timestamp in the description so you guys can skip ahead to whatever pertains to you, but so we can kind of speedrun recapping. It wasn't very interesting of a day. We just had the little 3-gamer because of the OMG COVID stuff. Their games got moved back, obviously. I would say overall it was a relatively successful day. We went 2 for 3. I kind of had a feeling that Fred Brion was getting a little disrespected. Although it did come out, although I did realize, like later into the video, what was happening with Fred Brion, that it did turn out that Umpty was out with COVID. I was still pretty confident with Fred Brion, and I didn't think swapping out that one player would make that much of a difference. Although, again, I do think jungle is the most important role in the game. I think replacing one player is relatively easy, especially when we're talking about Liv Sandbox, who it turned out went crazy and swapped out like everyone. I I kind of like the Sandbox approach. Obviously, it's a very tough sell arguing that Dove, Croco, and Closer are going to be worse than Howling, Hamback, and Tenten. We can quickly look, like all these players just kind of came up from the Live Sandbox Academy. All these players are just kind of moving around the different academy in the LCK. Look, as you guys could see, Howling has been with Sandbox Academy for a while. I believe he's made some LCK appearances in the past. I remember the name. Maybe he was just a substitute for them. Same for Hambeck. He was with the Africa Academy, came to Sandbox Academy. Same story here for Tenten. I like the move, honestly. Sorry, I couldn't figure out what tab I was on. I like the move. They're kind of realizing that this season or this split is a little done. They're kind of just taking a chance with some academy players, seeing if they provide anything. They just try to find some talent. I don't hate the move. I don't know if players like Dove, Croco, and Closer are necessarily like that important, or like if they're that good, if they have the upside. I kind of like the move of just trying to figure out what unknowns you have and see if anything sticks, because you just kind of never know what players are gonna do well, when they get to that big stage. So obviously, like after all things considered, like I did record this video thinking yesterday's video thinking of two entirely different rosters, but I guess fortunately for us the result was the same. I did have a Raptor lineup in, and of course he did end up just getting kind of slotted in there. So I believe he was relatively low owned, but things are pretty good there. The other series, KT Hanwha, this one was pretty disappointing overall. Hanwha just looked bad. I don't know. It was like partially expected, because I do think both these teams were bad. I thought that it was be a really close game. I just like the underdog side of it. They didn't come through. They looked pretty bad, honestly. I don't know. That one's just kind of tough, where I just kind of take that one on the chin and say I was wrong. I had the wrong lean on these teams. I don't know. Maybe that's just part of me not being quite in tune with the LCK because of avoiding it for so long. But hopefully we can try to rekindle that spirit. Coming back to the LPL again, just one game last night from OMG's quarantine of COVID. Team WE did end up getting the upset. That was the side that we were on. I was pretty torn on this one, but I believe Team WE was like the plus 165 underdog, I think, something like that. I was pretty pleased with them. This was kind of the team I was expecting them to be. They were a little bit more decisive, a little bit more dynamic. I think Xie is looking really, really good. I'm super impressed with Xie. I do like this lineup. I like the core of Biu, Beishong, and Xie. That is the 3-man core. Well, I guess it would have been a different top laner. It would have been who do they play with? Who was their other jungler or their other top laner from not too long ago? Yeah, Breathe, when he was known as Curse. Nope, that's not it. Who am I thinking of? I guess it was just Breathe. I could have sworn he had a different name. That wasn't Curse. Oh yeah, it was Breathe by Shanks. Yeah, I don't know. So it was Breathe. So uh yeah, I mean I like this top jungle mid core of Biu Biu Beishong Xie. Don't love the bottom lane with Xing and Kadaya. Don't think stays are necessarily an upgrade either. If they could figure out something a little bit more impactful in the bottom lane, I think they would actually be kind of like a decent like playoff level team. Um, that's not the case, but I think they have some like real kind of potential to upset here upcoming. And this Team WE team is a team that I've bought into early. This is, of course, is the first time that they've paid off. So, nice to get that one in the win column again. I've said this multiple times, but Team WE's schedule upcoming is pretty soft. So I think they're going to have some winnable matchups coming up. I'm looking forward to them, especially Xie. He looks absolutely dynamic, and so far he has had some ups and downs. I think he looked pretty bad in the WE FPX series, but in the other two series, I think he's looked really, really good. I'm pretty impressed with Xie, just kind of sliding right back in, no problem. So that's something to keep in mind with Team WE. IG again, I kind of thought they were pretty overrated. Although I like them as a nice sneaky underdog, but not as a favorite like this. Sorry, 1 second as I blow my nose. Sorry, I like to do these videos in like one take. I don't want to do all the editing and stuff. I'm already busy as it is, so apologies there. Don't know if you guys even heard it, but yeah. Just think IG is a little overrated relative to kind of where their actual skill level is. I think they're more so in the bottom tier. I think they're at the top of the hopeless tier. If I was going to kind of update my tier list a little bit, I would say the top tier, which is probably like title contenders, I would say V5, RNG, EDG. I honestly might just call it after those three, and I think there's like a mini tier between, like after that, where I would have Weibo, TES, LNG, BLG, JDG. I would probably all have all those teams like a little bit of an under tier where they could maybe potentially contend, but they're a little bit more of a long shot idea for me. I think Weibo's kind of becoming a little exposed, so that's a spot where we're going to be talking about in a little bit. Yeah, I think that. And then we have like borderline playoff contenders here. I think this is actually like a 3-team range where we have OMG, RA, and AL. I think those are going to be the 3 teams competing for those bottom 2 playoff spots. As of right now, I think RA is going to be the team that misses out, but we'll obviously wait and see. And I think at the bottom we have teams like FPX, Ultra Prime, IG, LGD, WE, TT. You could argue that there's maybe like a little bit of a gap even there. You could say, actually, I don't know. I feel kind of content with having all 5 of those teams there. You could argue again that maybe TT's on another level underneath everyone else. I think that's a little tough. I just kind of would group all 5 of them together. So that's kind of how I would view the league at the moment. But let's go ahead and get started talking about some of these games upcoming. So, again, don't know why I keep forgetting this, but I need to bring up the lineups, of course. I don't believe there is going to be any changes, but we go over them anyway. Oh, there is one change. We'll talk about it here. In the Weibo series, we do have On coming back in for Sword Art, so something to keep a note of. Looks like RA, Ultra Prime, the same there, nothing to report. TT, JDG, everything the same as well, so not a lot to change here. Weibo going back to On instead of Sword Art. I understand it. They were like 10-1, I think, with On. They tried to bring in Sword Art, it didn't work out. So it's kind of like if it's not broke, don't fix it sort of thing. I understand it. I do think Swordar is the better player, but I think this uh, move definitely makes sense. This is probably easy transition to start talking about Weibo top esports. This is going to be a pretty interesting series. I think this is really close. Um, I forgot to bring out the odds for this one as well, but um, I've yet to really look in depth. I think I glanced over them a little, so I have a kind of vague idea of what's happening with the odds. I think if my memory serves, Top Esports is actually lined as the favorite here. Whoops. Let me bring up a League of Legends. I know it never works on the first try. Set it 2 tomorrow, and then we have the games here. So yeah, we have Top Esports minus 122, Weibo minus 106. I think this is weird, honestly. I feel like the odds should be a little flipped. I understand them being so close. We are going, I guess, in a little bit backwards here, but yeah, I mean, I just don't know. I just, that's just a weird thing to me, honestly. I mean, we have seen Weibo kind of shaky as of late. They barely got the win over LNG, barely got the win over OMG, barely got the win over LGD. Like, their wins are not convincing at all. It seems like it's a long time coming for them to kind of collapse a little bit. Again, I think they were like a little fraudulent, maybe not quite as much. The 2-0 defeat to RNG is not a big deal. I think RNG is arrived pretty much. So I still like Weibo. I still think they're a pretty solid team. Then we compare them to Top Esports. Top Esports has been the bane of my existence. They've had I believe, what is this, a 6-game win streak now? Yep, they're on a 6-game win streak, going from 2-4 to 8-4, blistering through the league at the moment. Wins over LNG, BLG, EDG, JDG. Like, those are some decent wins in there as well. That's 4 playoff teams, and then they beat ThunderTalk and FPX. So it's tough. It's hard to deny that, to deny the kind of level there. I do think when kind of putting it in perspective of the whole league, I think BLG sliding down, not looking good. LNG sliding down, not looking good. They've been looking pretty bad. All things considered, LNG have been looking as of late. JDG, again, I think they kind of do have a pretty solid cemented place in the middle of the league. I don't know how great they are necessarily. I think they're going to be a good team to watch and stuff at least, but I don't know. I still feel like, honestly, these wins are, although they look decent, they're relatively good wins. Like BLG and LNG, EDG, JDG, those are all still like probably top 8 teams, but they're not top 3, top 4, top 5 teams. I think that's where the difference is. Like, based off the tier list and stuff that I just mentioned, I think LNG, BLG, JDG, those are definitely more so middle teams, like decent, good playoff teams, but not contenders, not necessarily, but they're not bad either. I think they're good teams, and they're just kind of somewhere in the middle. Then I think when you compare them to somebody like Weibo, I think Weibo, although they did have an inflated record and they were looking really good, they have been a little humbled as of late. I still think they're better than Top Esports. I know this has been a losing pattern. If you're good at pattern recognition, you're probably gonna understand this one when I say I still am not buying Top Esports. I don't know. Like, I just feel like, again, we look at these wins. They seem like quality wins, but it's like, are they really? Like, how good is BLG really? How good has LNG been really? How good has EDG been really? Not that good for, like, any of those teams. JDG is the only one who you would argue has been, like, kind of doing well and picking things up. And when you look at that score, that's from February 19th. That's, like, 3 weeks ago from now, which is, like, years in esports terms, it feels like. So I don't know, I'm just not buying it. I feel like Weibo should be a slight favorite here, honestly. I feel like, although, again, Top Esports 6-game winning streak been looking good, beat name branded teams. It's not like Top Esports are beating up on IG, ThunderTalk, FPX. Well, I mean, they did do that, but they're not beating crappy teams. They're beating okay teams. So you would have to think that they are better than them, and I think they are. But I think the same is said for Weibo. I think it's a super close, slight edge to Weibo. I've been more impressed with their players and stuff overall. Again, pretty inconsistent, I think, a little bit from both sides. I think we could definitely see a third game here, and it'll kind of come down to who wins that third game. So far, it has been Top Esports. They've won 5 game threes in a row. All their series have gone 3, and then they've managed to bring the third game home for them. I feel like the same it was said for Weibo early on as well. I think these teams have played a lot of games. Weibo's played 31 games in 13 matches. That is a large amount. Top Esports has played 32 in 12, also a pretty large amount there. So they're averaging like over 2 games a series, I think, which is going to be true for everyone, I guess. But I think they're just going both these teams typically are going game 3 here a lot. From DFS standpoint, I'm probably looking at a dog or pass situation, to quote my favorite MMA pick giver, Cody Saftik. I think this is a dog or pass situation. I can't get to this Top Esports with a minus number next to them against another good team. I feel like I'm kind of talking in circles a little bit here, but I just think Top Esports are overrated. I think Weibo, I feel like we're shutting the curtain down on Weibo a little bit too quickly here. That's all. I still think, again, I think when they were number 1 and they were being touted as like MSI goers and like that kind of level, I thought they were overrated then. And now it feels like people are like giving up on them so quickly. I still think they're definitely in that solid. I think they're at the top of that second tier that I just mentioned. So I think they're probably like the 4th best team in the league. I think Top Esports is more like the 6th, 5th, 7th best team in the league, depending on the day. So I'll just go with the Weibo side. Now, this minus 106 money line on the underdog is pretty gross. Maybe you could find a better number. Like if you get Weibo at plus money, I think that's a fair shout. But for DFS purposes, I like Weibo a little bit. I think it's relatively tough to get there in 3 games when I'm expecting a map loss here. It does provide a little extra ability of upside. Like if it's a close game and they both end up getting like 15 kills, like if Top Esports win 20-15, Weibo could definitely have like a really, really solid outing. So I'm not going to X them off necessarily. I'm just going to have a sprinkle of them, but we'll look at them with a close eye when it comes to, kind of looking at the DFS scores and what to expect. So, yeah, we have 5 games to go through, so I probably spent a little bit too much time talking about that. Luckily, we have JDG Thunder Talk to quickly run through. I know this is in a random order, but we could rattle off. I think JDG 2-0, and they're going to be a really, really important stack for me tonight. JDG's pace has just been kind of like a little unprecedented, honestly. It seems like the JDG is the only team where they're just pedal to the metal completely, full stop. Like they're just going for it at every aspect, every opportunity they get. They'll take any and all fights. I do think this kind of does open up a little bit of an opportunity for TT. I don't know, honestly. So here's the thing. This might sound a little crazy, but I'm actually kind of a little bit liking TT here. I think, again, it is really, really unlikely. I think this is most likely just going to be a JDG 2-0. But I just have this feeling where JDG are kind of like the better anyone's legend. Like if anyone's legend was winning a lot, then it would be just JDG because they're more proactive, very volatile, pretty heavily involved in team fights and brawling these games out. That's why I picked AL to upset JDG not too long ago. And I think the logic can apply a little bit here as well. The reason I say JDG is just a better AL is because the mantra with AL is they're always a live underdog and they're always susceptible to giving up the upset as the favorite. And I feel like I could kind of see applying that same logic to JDG. Although I have picked JDG a lot lately and they've been, coming through in spades for us. They're 1, 2, 3 in a row, lost to BLG and ALIG, but, beat up the V5 side, beat up LNG here. Got them on the underdog on both of those cards. Yeah. Um, I think they're good. I think they're flying a little bit above kind of where they probably are in a skill. People's perception of them is probably a little bit above where they actually are. I think they're definitely a like fifth to eighth area team. Pretty good. Going to be a decent contender maybe in the playoffs, but not maybe have the title chance necessarily. This is just kind of a sell high on JDG and a little bit of a buy low on TT. We just saw them lose to Thunder Talk to Ultra Prime a couple nights ago. It is a super tough sell. I definitely get that. I just think you're going to want to be a part of this series overall, honestly. I feel like we've just seen some flashes of brilliance from TT. I feel like they haven't been completely and utterly annihilated. I could definitely see this one getting ugly. This one could definitely feel like a 22-minute stomp where JDG just absolutely wiped the floor with TT. I definitely see that as a live possibility as well. I just feel like with how volatile JDG play, they're pressing the issue constantly. They're pedal to the metal. All the verbiage you could use. Like JDG's tempo is just absolutely insane. And I feel like it can get them into trouble. And I feel like TT, while they are really bad, there's no questioning that. I think they still do have some level of ability to punish that. I think they've proven it a little, like with taking a game off of like LNG. RA was pretty close. I mean, it's a tough sell. TT's worst record in the league, bottom 2 team in the league. I feel like if I say TT's a bottom 2 team and JDG is 5th to 8th, it's a tough sell. I understand that. I don't think I'm necessarily even going to go to TT. I just have the feeling that they do have live options. Maybe this isn't the spot for it, but I think JDG is a team where you can fade them as a big favorite. I think they can lose some games where they should be winning because of their hyper volatile, aggressive aggro play style, and it can come back to bite them. Will TT punish them? Probably not. I think, again, the likelihood of JDG just kind of stomping them quickly 2-0 is more so, like, very likely. I just think it's a possibility there. Having kind of talked to both sides, I'm probably just going to go JDG 2-0. I'm not going to have any Thunder talk, but I just kind of have a feeling there that it's a little bit more open, and maybe there's a spot for JDG to drop the balls coming up. Nope, not really. I'm not going to be picking RA, and maybe we'll have to wait and see for that other JDG series. So yeah, spent again a lot of time just to give you a favorite team and 2-0, so very fun there. RA Ultra Prime. This one again is also pretty interesting. For some reason, we keep getting these RA playing RA and TES slates at the same time. I'm going to continue to go against RA here. I know this is probably, you guys are probably so sick of these slates. You probably sick of me talking about RA and Top Esports as well. Those are just the 2 teams I'm just completely out on. I'm not sure how else to put it, really. We've seen Top Esports, like, Top Esports is kind of just the better version of RA. I just feel like I'm not sure how they're winning. The other teams just feel like they're giving mistakes to them, letting them come back and win and stuff. Like, I'm just not sure like how they're winning. Again, I think if we look here quickly at the RA schedule of like their comeuppance, they've beat LGD, bottom 3 team, TT, bottom 3 team, win over RNG, that's fine. Give them some credit there. I think RNG looked pretty off that day, but regardless, good name win. FPX, bottom 5 team. Team WE, the other bottom 3 team. So that's all 3 bottom 3 teams, making up 3 of their 4 wins, right? They have the win over RNG. So it's like, are we really going to continue to give RA this much credit because they have a single series win over RNG almost 3 weeks ago? Like, no, like that just seems a little silly. That is just silly to me, honestly. you could, I think if you look at the whole body of work, look at how everything's shaping up, we look at the whole thing of the league. That's just like a fluke kind of like blip on the radar thing where that happens 1 out of like 15 times and it just rolled to 1 out of 15. Like, I think if this is a RNG 2-0 over RA, then this is like a pick'em game. Like, we have RA beating up all the other bad teams. I feel like the same could be said for Ultra Prime. We look at Ultra Prime, they beat TT, beat OMG, WE, lost to FPX. So that was when FPX was still kind of decent. But they've lost to Weibo, they lost to JDG, they lost to V5. Like, Ultra Prime have been like in the same area as RA. Like, yeah, RA had that big win streak. Their score is looking better, but I just don't understand this price on this game at all. Honestly, I'm super perplexed by it. I don't know how else to describe it. Like, if you're asking me to make the line for this game, I think RA minus like 140, 130 maybe. Like, I feel like RA is like a slight favorite. They have been winning games. They were on the winning streak. I get that. But these teams are like in the same area for sure. Like, so we go back to the like league standings. Although RA are much higher above Ultra Prime, I mean 9 to 12th isn't that crazy, but we're talking about a 6-6 record versus a 5-8. So what is that? Like a game and a half up or something is RA. Like, these teams are just in the same area. I don't understand the price really at all. Like, they're pricing this like RA is a much better team than they are. They still are just so susceptible to losing with iBoy LAN getting caught out. They do this so often. I don't know necessarily if Ultra Prime have the ability to kind of punish RA that heavily, but I'm still just not buying RA. I don't know how else to describe it. Again, we look at their match history, beating up bad teams, losing to good teams. I feel like they're just in the same area. They're very close. Like, they're just very close levels of skill here. I think they're very close. I think RA is a slightly better team than Ultra Prime, and 275 is not a slightly better price tag. That is a crazy price tag here. So I'm just going to buy the price of the Ultra Prime team. I don't know ownerships again. But I think when you're looking just at the LPL slate quickly, JDG 2-0 probably, that's honestly one where JDG pressed such a pace. I could see it being like kind of bad for DFS purposes. I could see JDG getting like a sub 25 minute victory, like where they don't even score a lot because they don't get a lot of kills. I think they have a lot of upside. Definitely going to be a big part of my player pool, but there's some concern there. RA Ultra Prime, I'm definitely just going to be on Ultra Prime. I don't think this is necessarily going to be a bloody game. I don't know. We'll look at stats here in a minute, but I just think this price on Ultra Prime RA is crazy to me. It's just bonkers. I really don't understand it. I'm riding Ultra Prime pretty heavily here. And then Top Esports Weibo, I kind of get it a little bit, but I still think Weibo are getting a little overlooked and they're getting a little devalued too quickly. That's all. Talking about the LCK, again, I do want to reintroduce the LCK into our minds. We have been seeing a lot of them doing well recently. They've been putting up some pretty big numbers. We saw it again even last night with Frederick Brion being really well scoring. I think, again, we look at like T1 against Guangdong. T1 has just been playing at an absurd pace as well. Like, it's a little crazy to think that T1 are kind of being known as the pressure pushers in that league. They're looking really dominant. I really like some T1 pieces. We'll look at the stuff here in a second, but I think T1 should get the job done 2-0. They push a great pace. I think they're definitely viable. For pricing, I wonder where they're at. Yeah, they're relatively expensive, so it's tough to get to them, but I think they're fine. Maybe like more of a cash game style build. Damwon Nongshim. Again, I just can't buy Nongshim anymore. They've just let me down continuously so long. It's time for me to kind of accept that they're bad. Damwon did have a little bit of a letdown versus Gen G. I don't think Damwon is that good, but they're still beating up on at least these bad teams. So Damwon should be rebounding here. 2-0, maybe 2-1. As far as like one-slotting team, one-offing team slots, I think Damwon definitely good option. T1 maybe, I'm not sure, but I think Damwon definitely play at a slow pace, a long dragon-based play pace where they're going to try to outmaneuver you around the map, and I think that's more conducive for team slots. So I guess we looked at pricing. 5,400 for the Damwon team slot, definitely doable. I like doing that and getting a little bit unique there. Yeah, I mean, we could transition into looking at the team stats here. So we have Damwon, Kwangdong, T1, and Nongshim. And over in the LPL, let's see if I can do this by memory. We have JDG, I guess the bottom, Weibo. We have Ultra Prime, Thunder Talk. Do I have Top Esports in here already? Nope. Who's the other one? RA. For some reason, those are always the ones that slip my mind. So, again, setting this to just this patch, 12.4. Been over this in every video, but I just think super small sample, recognize that. I just think the game changed so much in between these other patches that this one is very conducive to action, and it's kind of like a whole different realm. Yeah. Another thing, we've been talking about this as well, been trying to transition our thoughts a little bit about how we look at these leagues and stats and stuff. We went way too long of looking at combined kills per minute and not averaging in the average game time as well. Things like that does matter. Like they do get less kills per minute, but if there's more minutes, then it does kind of equal out. So, kind of just missed the boat on that one. Average game time, Nongshim versus Damwon. We're looking at 37 minutes of average game time here. The numbers are somewhat decent, so we look at average game time of 37 minutes. Just quickly, combined kills per minute, what is that, 0.6 or something? 0.65. So we're looking at about 24 total kills on average here. I think that's fine. I don't know. Something about that formula seems off. I don't know. Let's look at the over-unders here. It's going to be like 23.5 or something probably. 22.5. Yeah, I mean, I guess it does make sense there. I mean, based on that, like if I'm getting 24 and the odds are at 22.5, I think that's fair. It does make sense. I think Damwon has been picking up the pace a little. It's just a little tough, I think, for the upside there for like a team like Damwon. That's all. So we transition over to look at the T1 Damwon one, or T1 Kwangdong. Sorry, the Damwon Kwangdong stuff is tongue twister. So T1 insane pace, 0.8471. So we have 84 plus 71. That's of 1.55 divided by 2. So it's a 77. Average game time is like, what, 34.5? I don't know. We'll do like 34.5 times 0.77. Whoops, that's... Well, that is... I divided. Whoops. What was it? 34.5 times 0.77. 26.5. So that's a pretty big number. I'm going to look at the over-under here. I'd imagine 23. Yeah, 23.5. I mean, they're over-unders at 23. We're at 26. That's 2 LCK games where the numbers we're getting are over compared to Vegas odds. I would kind of like to recommend the overs in the LCK at the moment. I know that's probably a unpopular and a weird pick. I think if you could find better numbers in this, then it's bettable. I think when you look at the market width of this, it's just too wide. Like at minus 110, minus 120, the average there is minus 115. That's a lot of juice you're paying. That's about, what was that? That's just 15%, right? That's just a lot of juice to pay on bets like this. Like ideally, you can get minus 110s on both sides. I think that's probably fair and normal. I know some places like Pinnacle, maybe they sometimes get to minus 105 on both sides. Very little juice. I just think when you're looking at something where it's minus 110, minus 120, that's just a lot of juice. That's tough to get to. Again, minus 110 isn't the worst price. I do kind of like taking the shot on some of these overs in the LCK. Again, we just kind of looked at the LCK has been picking up the pace a little bit lately. Both of the numbers we calculated were higher. I wish I wrote those numbers down that I just got. But T1 was like what, 26 something, and Nongshim Kwangna. I guess we could quickly do this one again because it was pretty easy. So it was 37 times 0.65, 24. Oops. NSV Dom 1, 24. This might be a little annoying to do in the LPL, but we'll just do it again for visual sake. Teams, we have JDG is playing Thunder Talk. So we have 34.8 and 33.6. Those are what, like 34-ish, like a 34. We'll just call it 34. 0.75 and 0.95, so that's just 0.85. So 34 times 0.85. 28.9. I mean, these numbers are just going to be bigger. Like, it's just tough, honestly, especially with JDG. So, 28.9, round that up to 29. Again, not exact numbers here, but we're just trying to get an idea. Weibo Top Esports. This one should be interesting. So they're at about 31.6, 32.9. So that's just about 32, we'll call it. And then combined compils per minute were about 8.5, so 32 times 0.85, 27.2. That was the TESV Weibo, and that was 27.2, so 27. So as you guys could see already, T1 Kwangdong is pretty close even to the Top Esports Weibo. T1 are very likely to get a sweep there. It's something to keep in mind. And for the last series, quickly, it is Ultra Prime RA. And we have, wow, RA's game time is very low. Ultra Prime is 32 to 27. We'll just round this up maybe to like 29. So these numbers are going to be pretty low. This is like a 0.77 or something, somewhere in between there, 0.78 maybe. So what did I just say? 29 times 0.78. So 22 kills. That's 23. We could write it down as, so RAV GT. No, what is it? Oh, I'm crazy. Ultra Prime. And I just had 23. So I think when you do look at these numbers, they do make sense. I think I feel like again, the small sample definitely does skew this. If you guys can, I have the link in the description to all these stats. You guys can reshuffle these, recalibrate them however you want. I will leave the link in the description to this website and stuff. You guys could do this math quickly as well. But if we're quickly just going to look at how many expected kills there are going to be in these games, just quickly ranking them up, we have JDG at the top, Top Esports Weibo second, I think close there with T1, Nongshim Dom 1 actually viable, RA Ultra Prime, a little kind of surprising. I think, again, the super quick game time in these RA series definitely skews that, but I mean, that's the sample size I like. That's the sample size I'm going to go with. I'm going to stay true to these samples, even if there is going to be like some level of outlier weirdness there. So yeah, so we have those numbers. Let's let's just look at the context of them as well. We'll do patch here 12.4 again. The teams we like are JDG, T1, Ultra Prime. We'll probably just have to do Ultra Prime. Weibo Gaming. Who's the other one? Nongshim Damwon. Just have to go with Damwon Gaming here, probably. So we run those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep, we got all 5 of our teams here. Again, we're gonna just do quickly. I like to start off with the kill participation check. That way we can look and see if there's any groupings that necessarily pop up. Right off the bat, we do see Damwon group of Kellen, Canyon, and Duckdom. So Damwon, jungle, and bottom lane. They seem to be like kind of grouped up more. They have high kill participation numbers together. The same could be said for JDG's bot lane. We see Missing and Hope here. We see Elk and Xiaoxi here. We see Huanfeng and On here. So it's definitely seeming very bottom lane centric. Overall, we look for maybe some outliers. Like we have Faker at the bottom of the list. What's weird? I don't know. We have a ZS game here. I don't remember him playing. Is he starting? No. Okay, it is just allies. That's a little weird. I don't remember that happening, honestly. Whatever. I'm getting a little off track here, but I mean, we have Gumayushi's stats kind of dwindling here a little bit. Again, super small sample. I understand that. This is just a sample I feel comfortable with and looking at for now. It is low, but I think this is enough of a change, just where hopefully we can get a little bit more info on it and all that stuff. But I feel comfortable just looking at this small sample because I think it is different enough, and that's just kind of how I want to view things. We even see Showmaker here at 66 paired up with Damwon, so it looks like Damwon do have some good group numbers there. Weibo as well, actually doing pretty well. Angel, Sword Art, Angel, Huanfeng, and On. Obviously, Sword Art not starting. Overall, we do have, like, again, Xiaoxi, Elk up there. Then we have a big gap between Cryan and Hacker, so we have a decent idea of kind of what teams and stuff we're looking at. So now we can just go quickly position by position and get an idea of maybe who we want to X off and look at that way. So I like to just do kill participation first. I think that's the most important thing. The kills will kind of roll in naturally after that. So looking at top lane, it looks like 369 and Zayas are kind of a little bit of a class of their own. They both have really good kill shares and plus 60% kill participation. 60% is usually the cutoff I like to use. I typically don't like playing players under 60. There are going to be some exceptions where if there's no other options and stuff like that, but typically that's where I like to kind of draw the line. It'll be weird. You might have to go down to somebody like Bertle the Shy or Elias, depending on how your stacks are going. I think they're all viable, but ideally I'd like to get to a 369 or a Zayas instead. I think if we look at pricing, they'll probably be top 2. Yeah, they are 68 and 64. Makes sense. So maybe that's just a lineup by lineup thing you're going to have to consider, but I think if you're including JDG or T1 in your lineup, then I'd try to get to the top laners there. Looking at jungle, Canyon and Kanavi are kind of a cut above everyone, so that's again, another notch for the JDG side. That's 369 and Kanavi. Then we have Canyon for Damwon. Again, not looking great for SOFM. He's under that 60% threshold. Oner is just above it. Hacker is just above it as well, so when it comes to junglers, Kanavi and Canyon are people I'm going to be looking to prioritize if I do have, again, JDG involved in there or Damwon involved in there. I'm going to try to get to those 2 junglers, but I think all 3 of these, Hacker, Oner, and SOFM, I think they're all fine if you are going with that stack and that route. But again, ideally you'd like to target Canyon or Kanavi. Mid lane, we have Angel, Showmaker. We just kind of have Angel on a little plane of his own. So maybe you want to try to get to him a little bit more. He has that good kill participation. His kill share is definitely down. Again, that's something you can kind of attribute to a small 5-game sample size here. But then we have like a good middle tier here: Showmaker, Cryan, Yagao, probably all pretty viable, all pretty pretty close statistically. Then we have Faker, sub 50%. That's a really tough. He seems to be liking the LeBlanc a lot, and LeBlanc typically has been very poor for getting DraftKings scoring. You seem to just focus one target, so you get like 1 or 2 kill participation in a fight. Typically, it's very rare that you're kind of touching and dealing with all 5 members, so you're not likely to rack up those assists in those team fights. So when it comes to mid laners, I think all of them are live, depending on your stacks and how your lineup construction is going. But I like to probably just X out Faker here, as odd as that sounds. So, and heading over to ADs, all fine, all there for sure. Look, really good numbers across the board, pretty much for everyone. It's kind of expected with the AD position at the moment. It's the most sought after. It's the carry. They call it the AD carry for a reason. Tech damage carry. So all viable, all fine, depending on your stacks and stuff. Looks like definitely Elk is a kind of a cut above the rest. If they win, it's probably going to be through him. Feel relatively similar about Hope. I mean, Duck Dom's there as well. Like, the numbers are all here for everyone. Does look like Gumayushi's a little pricey. His numbers are kind of below everyone else's. You can somewhat contribute that maybe to small sample. I don't mind that. I still think they're going to play heavily through bot side, but remember, he's the second most expensive ADC on the slate. He has bad numbers for what I'm looking at, so that's something to keep in mind for me personally, at least. Then coming down to supports, again, Xiaoxi plus 80% in the kill participation. Really solid. Same Carrier there, missing there as well. Kellen there as well. Looks like On is just kind of a little bit below everyone else. But that's a 2-game sample. That's really tough to garner anything from. That's one series, and they went 0-2 in it too. So I think, again, all supports are probably fine. It depends on, again, what stack and how your lineup is looking overall. Again, I say this every time, but for supports, I just kind of want to get a big favorite support maybe, or somebody who I see high potential of getting the 2-0. When you do... With how the support meta is being played at the moment, there's a lot of engaged stuff like Alistar, Nautilus. I mean, there's getting like some Thresh and stuff mixed in. Maybe the Tom Kench a little bit as well. But I think overall, when you do have these like engaged supports, if you're losing, then you're just not going to get any participation. You're just going to rack up deaths. All it takes is like one bad game where your support goes like 0-5-2 or something. They end up getting negative points in a game. It just kills you so hard. So I think going with the heavy favorite supports, getting like some level of safety in there, that's just kind of my approach there. So yeah, I mean, that's going to be it. All supports viable, all ADs viable, but Gumayushi kind of cut below everyone else. All mids viable except for Faker. I'm probably just going to be Xing him out. All junglers viable, but probably look to avoid SOFM. All top laners viable, but again, 369 and Zeus kind of a cut above everyone else. So yeah, that's going to be my approach tonight. Hopefully we kind of broke everything down a little bit better today, made everything a little bit more clearer, so you guys can I'm trying to provide a little bit more of a statistical and analytical outlook, so you guys can try to just make more informed decisions as opposed to just kind of following me in my nonsensical ways. So definitely would recommend maybe on this slate when we have RA and TES, the two teams that pick against and then also went on big win streaks. So they seem to just be taking our lunch money, but hopefully we can buck the trend today. And just ride JDG pretty heavy. I think those Dom 1 numbers are looking decent. Not loving the T1 stuff. Maybe if you want to get a weird like T1 carry a one-off or something, like I think that's definitely something that's possible. He is super expensive, so it's tough. But I think there is some maybe unique ways if you want to just like again, maybe do a one-off with Carria and then the T1 team slot or something. Typically, all I like to do for team slot is I'll just look at the DraftKings history. There's really not a lot of stats or anything that's going to tell you much different. I mean, I guess maybe you can look at like a dragon control rate, but usually that just means who's winning. Like that doesn't tell you a lot. As you guys can see, winning teams control the dragon more so because they're winning. It's like I forget the term. It's like a chicken or the egg thing. I don't know. So you see Top Esports and JDG both have high dragon control rates, but they're also winning. So what does that really tell us? So I typically just honestly look at the DraftKings scoring stuff, because I mean that's a pretty straightforward thing. We're looking for DraftKings points here, so Dom1 Weibo, Ultra Prime, T1 JDG. So I'll look for T2-0 and 2-1 scores. I think at bases, we're looking for somewhere in the 60s. High 60s obviously would be nice. If we could get a 70, that'd be crazy, but ideally high 60s is kind of what we're aiming for in the team slot. Looks like JDG are doing that relatively consistently. 63, 63, 69, 52 and a 2-0, 68. So their 2-0s are looking pretty decent overall as of late. Definitely viable, but super expensive, I guess, 58. T1, their 2-0s, they're not scoring well in 2-0s. Their pace is way too high. They're not playing as late of games anymore. They're kind of just not performing as well for the team slot. So T1 is maybe one I'd try to avoid. Dom1, 60, 67, 58 here, 62. Again, not scoring great. I think they're definitely viable. Again, we just looked at the average game time of Nongshim and Dom1. That's pretty high. So you could see a lot of you could see some like double or triple barons and that kind of stuff. That stuff really does add up for the team slot. Weibo, Top Esports. I don't think Weibo's scores are that great. I mean, I'd expect more of a 2-1, so I'm looking at more of their 2-1 scores. Even their 2-0 are not that great, so I definitely would not I would definitely not look to get the Weibo team slot here. Ultra Prime 1. I mean, their 2-1s are even at 60. I mean, they don't win often, so it's tough. But it looks like when they do win, they're getting 50s, at least to 50s and 60s, so I don't mind the Ultra Prime team slot, especially if you just need to get the cheap pricing. Like if you're doing a stack and you land here with that price, I think this is a fine team slot one-off. I would say so far just kind of no T1 and probably no Weibo team slot. The other three are fine at whatever price point you want. Again, I do like one-offing the team slot and trying to get to something maybe like the Dom1 one where there's a lot more upside and kind of separates your lineup a little bit. So yeah, I think we kind of covered all of our bases, talked about a lot of stuff today. Pretty pleased, honestly. Very rarely do we kind of have this much of an organized and thought out episode of videos. So hopefully you guys enjoyed it as well. Make sure to let me know if you guys are still watching. I definitely appreciate that. Definitely made it that far. You're a real one for sure. Just let me know what you guys do and don't want to hear at all. If you guys are loving that I'm talking about this stuff, or let me know that I've spent too much time talking about this. Just any feedback that you guys are feeling, let me know. And that'll probably be it for me today, talking about League of Legends tonight. We'll have a Call of Duty video up later today as well. Hopefully you guys can tune in and check that out. Call of Duty picks are not doing as well, but I also had my biggest cash in Call of Duty this year, so had a $50 lineup turn into 1,000, so 20x up at the start of the year in Call of Duty. So I do like the COD streets as well, so check that out if you guys want some more sweats going on. Again, all the picks and stuff I give out typically are followed with my own money. When I'm quickly thinking about lineups, I'm probably planning on building tonight. I think I'm probably going to go either just with 3 max. I might get a 4th lineup in there. I think for now, I'm looking at JDG pretty heavy. I think their numbers are pretty impressive. I like mixing in some Ultra Prime, although their numbers weren't looking that great. I think the RA average game time kind of skews that up pretty heavily. I just think overall, when you look at the T1 players, they're pretty overpriced. Their numbers weren't looking that great in the co-participation department, that kind of stuff. It all adds up just to not wanting to get there with T1. I might have them as like a secondary slot or secondary stack once in a while or something, but they're probably going to be the first team I cross off if I get there. Yeah, I mean, I like JDG, a solid backbone there. Maybe mix in some T1. Ultra Prime, gonna probably need them as an underdog a good bit. Between Ultra Prime and Weibo, they're probably gonna make up all of my underdog slots. I might make like a double favorite lineup just because, but I'm probably just gonna be mixing and matching Weibo, Ultra Prime, T1, GTG, and Dom 1. So two underdogs, three favorites. One is a pretty decent sized one with Ultra Prime. Weibo's a pick'em, and then three favorites. So pretty interesting slate. Definitely can get some different constructions and roster builds and stuff. So yeah, that's gonna be it for me today. Best luck to you guys all, and I will see you guys tomorrow.